Some of you might know this if you follow me on Instagram that I'm a stay-at-home dad. And today I want to share the story of really how that came to be about because it wasn't even something on my radar and it wasn't even something I was thinking about. So we need to go back into the Business of Fatherhood time machine and we need to go back to June of 2019 because in June of 2019, my wife was invited to go to China for her school district was doing like an exchange teacher program where the group of teachers were going to China and they were going to observe other Chinese students in classrooms and learn how they teach over there. And so I want to be a supportive husband. It's 10 days. I'm like, yes, this seems like a once in a lifetime opportunity. They're paying for it. Why not go all in? But then quickly right after saying, yes, I'll support you doing that, I realized, wait, it's going to be on me. And I've never had the kids for 10 days. And luckily for me, that same year for spring break, my wife had went to Florida for the first time. And that was really the first overnight time I had ever been on a single dad night. And that kind of prepared me, but then it also a little bit scared me. I'm like, that was only 2 days. This is going to be 10 days. That's a lot. And so I knew right in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm going to take vacation. That was the first idea that I had. I'm going to cut off work so I don't have to worry about work and being a dad, because that will probably most likely be an insurance policy for a disaster. So I took vacation, had that part taken out, but now it was, okay, it's time to be dad. My wife gets on a plane, and then it's on me. And it was right when school got out. So school wrapped up 1 week and summer school started the next week. And I had never been a part of the kids' process of going to summer school. So that was a whole new process for me of dropping them off, picking them up, figuring out what that schedule looked like, figuring out how the afternoon schedule looked like. This is all being made up on the fly. But I can say between Friday and Wednesday, they were a hot mess. I was overwhelmed, anxious, and I can say probably the one thing that any husband out there needs to appreciate more to their wife that is a stay-at-home mom is the ability and the ferociousness to the amount of decisions that a person who stays home has to make in a single given day. Whether it be trying to keep track of the punishments that you had issued out, keeping track of the dinner and the lunches that you were doing, or just keeping track of the commitments. Maybe you said you were going to do something with the kids, or maybe you wanted to go to attend something that was either at the library or something like that. So keeping track and making those decisions is single-handedly the biggest thing that I didn't even know or even comprehend prior to my wife going to China. So back to the story. And by Wednesday, I had started to get my handle on it. I felt like I was in my stride. We had some good days. I felt like I was in flow. I was being able to anticipate ahead of what I needed to have ready. And it really felt good. We were doing a lot of good things. I had some dirt delivered, so we were doing some dirt adventures and redoing some flower beds to surprise my wife when she got back. And it was a really good time. Now, it was still overwhelming because then I'm like, well, who's doing laundry if I'm out here playing with the dirt? Like, the whole bunch of little moments like that, when you're outside doing dad stuff, there's nobody inside doing anything. And that component is really hard when you're doing it on yourself. But I eventually got through it and I eventually figured it out. But I can say that through those 10 days, man, did I fall in love with being a dad. I look back on some of those pictures that I took during that time, and those were some of like the first really good memories that I can remember where I was intentionally there. It was all on me. It was my first Father's Day by myself because my wife was in China for Father's Day. And when you have to celebrate Father's Day on your own, it kind of leaves you with a new sense of understanding of it when there's not a spouse there to help elevate it or even help the kids understand it or the kids to do something special. It's really just you. And so that just kind of brought a whole new meaning to be a dad. Then she comes home. I go back to work. She steps back into the routine. She goes to take over the summer school, the whole thing, because summers, being a teacher, those are her thing. And so I had to go back to work at that point. And then just sitting at work, I was like, man, I just want those days back. Like that was all I could think about. I just wanted those 10 dad days back. And the best way I can describe it is almost like a dad hangover. You might feel it if you had a really good vacation with the family and then you got to go back to work. You're like, man, it was so great. Sitting here just doesn't compare to what that feeling was. And that hangover really persisted. And the feeling kind of got deeper and deeper, where to the point where I was like, I just want to be dad. None of this other stuff matters as much anymore. And then fast forward a little bit further into January of that next year, I lost my job. And so losing my job, having that deep feeling of just wanting to be dad, and then also having the courage to go all in entrepreneurship, that kind of also helped lay the foundation of going in on this idea of being a stay-at-home dad. And then Corona hits even more. The whole world just changes. My wife's world changes. The kids' world changes. It made even more sense for me to double down on being the stay-at-home dad and keeping the household together. Now I can say almost a year and a half later, that was the best decision of my life, because I know 10, 20 years from now, that'll be the decision I look back on. That'll be the year that dad really came home. There were so many memories on my phone reminding me of all the good things. I won't remember all the hard days, because life was not just unicorns and rainbows. There was hard like anybody else's life during Corona was. There was challenges with homeschooling. There was high emotions. There was tempers. There was fighting between the kids. All of these things happened. But when I look at my phone, I don't remember any of those. I couldn't tell you the 2 months ago when the last fight was. It was just this morning. But I can tell you that when I look at my phone, those were great memories. That's what I'm going to remember 20 years from now. And so for me, it was about prioritizing what season of my life am I in. We've talked about that, framing your life in seasons. And I knew, my kids being under 10, that this was the year. These were the years that every dad wants back. Was the age from 0 to 10. And I was like, I want to just be present, because after this, I'm not going to be as cool. I'm going to still be dad. They're still going to want to do things with me, but they're going to have more busy lifestyles. And these younger years are the ones where, man, everybody wants back, because they're always like, man, those went by fast. And I can say, looking back as well, with my daughter being in preschool and us having mornings together, that will be a time that I always reflect on and always cherish, that we had that time to bond really and create some great memories of doing things, just me and her. And so this isn't telling you to quit your job. This is just me telling you why I love fatherhood, why I went all in on fatherhood, and to open up a little bit more about my life and how I became a stay-at-home dad, coming from a United States Marine, corporate life, all the way full circle to a podcaster, coach, and now professional speaker, and a stay-at-home dad. And I'll be back again with you tomorrow.